Simple robocalls have been used for many years and in many different industries. But today's technology allows for a much broader scope when it comes to broadcast messaging. Next slide, please. So why use broadcast messaging? For obvious reasons, it's cost effective to send proactive notifications. You can hit a much larger audience. You can improve your customer sat and loyalty, which obviously every call center is always looking for ways, or every business is looking for ways to improve satisfaction and customer loyalty. It reduces operations costs. And then, of course, there's other ways that companies are becoming much better at using the system, which is opt-in, cross-selling, upselling opportunities, and utilizing broadcast messaging to manage your customer interactions. A lot of large organizations today are actually starting to recognize the benefits and really implementing those over the last few years in a lot of different ways. For instance, there is a very large telecom company who has utilized broadcast messaging to fix a simple problem of notifying customers prior to receiving their first bill of a larger than normal amount that's going to be on that bill due to prorating. Before doing broadcast messaging, they had a significant problem with customers calling inbound to service and support regarding their bills being much larger. But by deploying broadcast messaging to preempt the actual bill showing and saying you will receive a bill that will be a little higher than normal because of the first month being prorated, significantly reduced their actual call-ins and increased their customer satisfactions. Things like appointment reminders, anniversary calls have been deployed. This particular telco was able to implement 38 different strategies around broadcast messaging, all focused within customer satisfaction and really just one division of their organization. Next slide. So why use broadcast messaging? Some of the new to do is, proactive notifications, developing customer campaigns with relevant information and, on a customized time, and then delivering personalized messages with pertinent information and making it unique to the individual. These kind of all touch on the same point, which is the capabilities for modern broadcast messaging to be able to be utilized in manners connected with current data. Being able to pull either with concatenated speech, text-to-speech, or the other technologies that we have available, you can dip into current data that you have to actively pull that information and customize each particular message to that specific guest. In the healthcare industry, a long time ago, it started out as just being notification reminders of an appointment, saying you have an appointment tomorrow. Now you can actually set times, mention the doctor, provide them with information depending on the type of visit that they have, with what they need to come prepared with. Things like forms that need to be filled out prior to actually coming into the doctor. Those types of things can be pulled and developed inside multiple different methods for outbound IVRs. Next slide. Now, some of the benefits, obviously I think we all know that there's a quick time to delivery. You can do hundreds and thousands of messages in a very short period of time compared to what it takes your live agents. Live agents can make 50 to 70 contacts per day, and obviously you all know that agents have a very specific cost per hour, including their seat time and all the other costs that go into an actual agent hourly cost. With messaging, you can eliminate a lot of the repetitive and redundant calls that agents do. And actually some of the most successful campaigns today is not replacing your agents, but actually creating campaigns that work in conjunction with your agents. It provides a scalability that you just can't have. Your technology oftentimes inside the call center is limited by board licenses, whatever it happens to be. And there's typically only a certain amount of calls that you can possibly make, whether you're using a cloud or a premise-based solution. So in conjunction with that, you can actually utilize the messaging campaigns to be able to potentially do something called an opt-in or press 1 campaign, where your customers will receive a message that gives them an opportunity to speak to a representative, and then passing only the critical calls back to the agent so they can focus on the high-value calls. It's obviously an extremely effective and cost-effective communication tool. Compared to every minute that you pay for your agent in dollars, you can reduce those minutes down to cost in cents. So it can have a significant impact when used properly in combination with your current agent programs. Next slide. Some of the features I'd like to touch on. Safety net for keeping compliant. There are a lot of systems out there that do voice broadcasting. DNC list is a critical piece. Some of the systems out there that we've had customers tell us about, you upload a list, and before you know it, without even turning on the campaign, it's off and dialing. There's no check against your DNC list. There's no option to determine when you want to start dialing. Scheduling functions, based upon time zones are critical. Understanding when your community, depending on the type of campaign and your calling group, the scheduling becomes very critical in how successful your campaigns can be. And then, of course, opt-ins. I'm going to talk a little bit more about opt-ins a little later, but it is critical as you build out any messaging type of programs for your business that you start to consider your opt-in list and how you gather those. It has long been known since 2008 that sales type of campaigns, you have to have permission. You have to have opt-ins in order to use automated messaging. Now today, with the cell phone rules and laws that are out there, you again have to build an opt-in list in order to be able to market or sell to them. Those are critical things, and again, we'll talk about those a little later. But those are just some of the things that VoiceOne brings. Detection accuracy. Call detection accuracy, I think if you've ever used a dialing platform, varies from platform to platform. One of the things that is critical to understand in messaging is that your platform does have a very quick and an ability to set the function to not just play an answering machine, to play a pre-recorded message or a text-to-speech message to an answering machine, but also recognize right away when you've got an actual live person and handle it differently, whether it be to play a different particular message for a live person, offer an opt-in where they come in, or also offer an opt-out. One of the laws that now is in place requires everybody to, for certain types of calling, I shouldn't say everybody, but for certain types of calling, you have to give them the ability to opt out of your calling to be placed on a do not call list. The personalization of the messages, again, we kind of talked about this in the last slide, but it's critical to not just blast out any open message to all of your customers. You want to customize. You want to be able to build a strategy around what you want them to hear and how you want them to hear it. The voice quality of your message, the ability to clean up that message, those are all critical pieces that we can actually do in-house. There's also great technology out there that you can, we help our customers utilize to be able to create a particular or a well-formed message and clean up the coughs or the spaces or whatever things go into an actual voice message that you record. Ringless voicemail. This is a very new functionality that's out on the market. Essentially, the concept of this is to direct a voicemail to someone's phone without actually ringing the phone. It's been extremely successful, less intrusive, and obviously it's a functionality that can be utilized in combination with your current agent or non-agent strategies. Multiple languages. Obviously, in the U.S., there's multiple different type of languages that you can that you want to be able to provide for your customers based upon whatever language they speak. Having that information in the database and being able to determine which language you use, depending on the person, can be a huge advantage. Clearly, we all want to be able to speak to someone in our native language. So it's nice to be able to have that functionality. Interactions, feedback from callers, and this is something that's being heavily used at the enterprise level. You can do polling, surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, product satisfaction surveys. There's all different types of uses for actual interactions. Yeah, there is a particular company we were recently working with that does extensive surveys, and in order to increase their productivity, we've been working with a strategy to help them understand how to utilize the message interaction to reduce the number of calls that it actually takes to find a valued person for that survey. The recording, quality assurance, verification purposes. One of the things that is relatively new, or it's been around, but it's being picked up and adopted much more rapidly, is the ability to add an actual portion of your survey or your voice message to allow the customer an opportunity to give a verbal feedback. What companies are doing is they're using it in their customer satisfaction surveys most often to allow the customer to give them that feedback verbally, and then immediately hear that message and determine, do I need to send this to a save group, a group of individual agents that are specialized in actually saving disgruntled employees or disgruntled customers, to then, of course, follow up and try to save that customer. We all know that an unsatisfied customer tells 10 people, a satisfied customer tells 1. We also all recognize that in our businesses, it's a lot easier to and more cost-effective to save the current customers you have than to try to replace them. So recording can be utilized as a very effective tool inside your outbound messaging. Next. So when to use broadcast messaging? There's a couple different things that we've seen a lot of success, and these are just some of them. Transferring to agents or an IVR. Again, combined with the proper your strategies on your agent side, you can utilize outbound broadcast messaging to help screen or route certain customers to the correct agent to get the right answer the first time, or to an IVR. Some companies are utilizing broadcast messaging to start the initial conversation with a customer or find out and ensuring that they're engaged with the right customer, and then passing them to a secondary IVR that can do things like payment processing, for instance. That's definitely an effective way to combine with your current strategies to show an increase in revenue or increase in dollars collected. Install or order verification. The cable companies have been doing this for many years. However, if anybody's recently had an installer or an order verification come from one of them, they seem to be finally realizing that the more interactive they are, at least in my area, the more interactive they are with the customer, the better response they get. It ensures they understand who the installer is going to be in some instances, when they're going to be there in a shorter time period than the traditional 2 hours like we all used to hate. They give shorter time periods, and they also verify that someone's going to be there, so that if somebody's not going to be there, if something were to come up, they can select an opt-in to talk to a person and reschedule it. Avoiding, of course, a lot of wasted time and cost, sending an installer or an individual to a house where no one's going to be there. To collect customer data. Some polling, I know the political season, probably all of us had experience with this, where they were trying to collect information on where we stood on different aspects, and that's just a portion of how it can be used. If you've got a particular need that you want to pull your data, your actual customer base with, to find out about a new product launch, to find out about not just customer satisfaction, but collect data more particular towards marketing or sales efforts. It's a great method to use that. Surveys and polls, clearly we've talked about. Verification of data. This is another critical piece combined with some, we're seeing activity coming from combining with the online activity where people are utilizing, they purchase a product online, a message goes out to their phone number and verifies that they actually ordered it, and then confirms the shipment and can potentially even make recommendations on other products and pass it off to another group, again with an opt-in, or press 1 to talk to an upsell or a cross-sale representative. Confirm purchases, activities, and appointment and service reminders. These are all things that can be developed in your environment with your active sales, marketing, or service campaigns, and really increase your productivity by automation. Again, the key is dollars per minute compared to cents per minute when you look at broadcast messaging compared to agent activity. Next slide. All right, so I want to get into some actual results instead of just talking about what are potentials. Let's talk about some things that we've actually seen. Again, this is the national telco that I was referring to. They implemented appointment reminders, reducing ghost truck rolls by 20%. That was what I was referring to regarding the actual number of individual installers showing up or not being to the right location or not being verified that they need to come at the right time. Reduced inbound calls asking for status of the technician. Again, this gives them, utilized properly to send out a message, your installer is finished with his current install and on his way. That can reduce significant amount of call volume. And you can deliver it in multiple languages. So another advantage to increase their customer satisfaction. Next slide. A collections firm. I don't know if we have any debt collection firms in this, but debt collections has been using automated messaging for quite some time. Utilizing this, we've seen 30% of live answers requested transfers to live agents. Utilizing a particular voice, making sure that the message is clean and that it's a consistent message. And then rapid response file for non-responders. They can it can increase the amount of time it takes you to get through a file. Often in debt collections, you've got a certain or significant number of people you need to contact. It can reduce the ones that are less likely to reach, and then increase your opportunity to actually follow up with live agent or live collector calling. Significant reduction in collection costs without impacting the actual dollars collected. And increased utilization of collections IVRs. I referenced this earlier regarding payment processing. A lot of debt collection firms utilize IVRs in payment processing. So utilizing an opt-in to follow them back up to allow the customer to actually manage their debt and pay for it without interacting with the customer has seen a significant increase in dollars collected because people are just naturally less comfortable, or I should say more comfortable talking to a computer or to a technology than they are to a live person because of the because of how they feel. They feel they may have some shame in the debt that they owed or be embarrassed about being in that situation. Next slide. So a national home services company, they increased their survey participation rate by 38%. Again, recommendations in the voice quality, the way they ask the questions, the way they design their outbound IVRs are critical. You reduce the cost per survey, or they actually reduce their cost per survey from $1.50 to less than 75 cents. On in a small company that may not mean much, but in a very large firm like this, it was a significant amount of savings. Identify customers with poor experience and route those to the SAVE team. This, again, I touched on earlier, but this is another way that they were able to find a lot of success using outbound messaging. Reduce costs per response. $50 direct to mail. I don't know if any of you individuals currently do direct mail, but there's a great way to reduce the amount of direct mail that you need to send utilizing outbound IVRs. And then, of course, increase response rates from 2% to 16% over the direct mail, because direct mail just has, we've seen reductions in conversion rates on direct mail historically over the last 10, 15 years. And then the ability to quickly test different offers. One of the things that messaging allows is that you're able to try different concepts. If you've got a good sales, an opt-in list for sales, you can definitely play around with different go-to-market strategies. Figure out what customers, how customers respond to different things. There's a lot of getting creative with modern voice messaging technology. It gives you a flexibility that you just can't have without having a live agent, go through it and do polling. And it gives you definitely a quick flexibility to test things out from a marketing and sales perspective. Next slide. All right, a major print publication. They were able to give a heads up or a lookout message to people receiving that, and last chance opportunities to actually sign up for to continue getting their subscription, and had a 300% improvement compared to their direct mail response rates. 11% increase in customer retention, again utilizing the outbound messaging, and utilize welcome calls to increase the initial satisfaction, letting them know thank you for ordering. You will receive your first subscription at X time, and we look forward to continuing your service. You can obviously, if it's they could obviously utilize cross-selling opportunities for other magazines. There's a lot of different ways that they've been able to find success with outbound messaging. Next slide. All right, a leading entertainment company. They found 23% upgrades for $3 additional service-free service after a free trial. I apologize. They were able to automate and have no agent interaction whatsoever. And then they went as far as actually integrating their purchase campaigns with the VoiceOne, to do additional buy rates, so specials. They were able to increase the amount of revenue that they were getting significantly by providing different forms of opt-in and special programs to those outbound customers. Next. So the question is, how do you get started? Oftentimes we hear this repeatedly, even with companies who have been doing messaging for quite some time. You want to analyze the top reasons. Top reasons to do this typically revolve around automation. People are looking for a reduction in cost, but they don't really think about the marketing touch points. So you want to analyze your reasons for doing outbound messaging. What are the methods that you can use? You can obviously use them to drive inbound calls. That's one method. Outbound calls, clearly using them as just appointment reminders or simplistic things that we're used to are fine. But the marketing touch points are really where you can start getting creative and show some growth for your company. Some of the things that you can do is look at your strategies around a combination of, maybe you still like the direct mail, maybe you're doing some web-based marketing. Create an outbound message to your opt-in groups and associate it with a website or an email campaign, to actually drive additional business. Help your customers recognize your brand. We're assuming that, if you haven't started your sales opt-in list, hopefully after this discussion you start talking internally about how you can do that. We do, of course, offer consulting services, with a lot of our clients to help them get started. The sales opt-in list is going to become more and more critical as the legal ramifications are not having those opt-in while you're trying to market to them are continuing to become higher and much more aggressively much more aggressively handled by the different government entities. So sales opt-in lists are very critical to the future of using automated messaging. We do recommend that you obviously speak to your legal team. We don't claim to know all the laws. However, obviously being in the business, we can help you kind of guide what to speak to your lawyer about. Start off with a few base campaigns. What I would recommend, I've seen a lot of companies implementing technology, whether it be voice messaging or telephony solutions or any type of technology. They oftentimes try to start out too big. Find some focus, whether you want to increase customer stat, whether you want to increase cross-sales or up-sales with your current sales opt-in list. Figure out a couple of things to focus on. Spend some time and effort to ensure that you've got a good quality message recorded. Make sure you understand how you can interact and be creative. Figure out ways to integrate your current data and the information you know about your customers to actually get to make the interactions more personable. And then focus on automation. These tools can be used in a lot of different ways. We've gone over just a few. There's clearly a lot more you can come up with, and we hear from our customers of creative ideas all the time, and it's always exciting to hear of something new when we haven't heard of it before. So focus on automation, be creative, don't hesitate to have a little fun if your business model fits that. One thing I know that we've seen a lot recently is utilizing automated messaging in the entertainment industry. Helping when people go to certain, how to say it without actually naming any names, when they go to certain venues, they will actually send out a thank you, and we look forward to seeing you message with a voice from somebody who's recognizable to that. In sports, people are using coaches. So in business, sometimes we've seen a real effective approach to using a CEO or a known individual within that organization to the customer base. So don't be afraid to have fun with it. But again, it can do a lot more than just reduce costs. Look for ways to figure out how to make it financially beneficial in upsales and cross-sales also. All right, so next slide. So at this point, I've kind of ran through, and I apologize. I was a little speedy, I think. I probably could have drawn it out a little longer. But I want to get into the questions at this point. And I know, I'm sure some of you have reached out and put some questions. So why don't we go ahead and start to answer some of those. And we'll spend some time. Phil?
Yeah, real good, Fred. Good information. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to let everybody know that this is only the first in a series of educational webinars that we'll be presenting every 4 weeks. We'll have staff presentations, and we'll have guest speakers. And if you have any ideas what you'd like to see for future webinars, let us know. It might already be on the schedule for down the road, or if we get enough requests for a certain topic, we'll certainly bring somebody in to talk about it. So we're real excited to present this educational series. Be sure to watch your be sure to watch your email, excuse me, for future webinar information. All right, the first question is from Colleen. I'll just use her first name. Can you explain more about answering machine detection? How does it work? Sounds like she's a little frustrated. Seems like every other answering machine comes through to our agents, even though we don't want them to, with the company that we're using right now. And it's not you, she says.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Answering machine detection, this has worked the same since even back into my days when I first started running call centers. Answering machine detection hasn't changed much. The way answering machine detection works on every system I've ever seen, it uses a combination of cadence, voice cadence, and pauses to understand whether or not an actual caller is a live person or not. There is no magic beep. There is no magic detection of 100%. And you know, this comes from a long time of working in dialers and telephony. So what it does is it listens for, depending on how it's programmed, it listens for a period of time to determine if it's a live person, and then it listens to the peaks and valleys of the voice. So hello sounds very specific. There's a high and a low, and there's a pause. Hello, hello, or hello, thank you for calling, Fred. This is, those are very different sounds, and that's how systems detect answering machine messages. The birth of SIP and call progress analysis has changed some of the other things, but it has not changed answering machine detection. It's still done in the same manner. Some systems actually spend time and work with their carriers and understand how you know, those tones and cadences, and they really tweak and play and manipulate those pauses to try to get the best percentage. And that's really the key. The more efficient, usually, it means the more time that companies actually spend diving in and testing and benchmarking and going through and spending time really focusing on the quality of answering machine detection.
Okay. Next question is from Dennis. What do you know about cell phones and ringless voicemail versus the law, in regards to the law, I believe?
The first thing I would say is, obviously, I highly recommend everybody speaks to a legal, their own legal source to get definitive answers depending on your business. With cell phone calling, period, you know, it's always something you want to be very well aware of, that, you know, if it's a sales or for any matter, if it's a cell phone, you need to have opt-in permission. And in today's world, you know, if you're doing any texting, that adds on different layers of legalities that you have to follow. You know, it's not something I would take lightly, and make sure, you know, you do speak to your legal representation to find the answers for your industry. It's a pretty broad question. We can kind of help understand because we're in the business, like I said, but we can't make legal recommendations.
Okay. Next, George. Okay. Who are you guys? I've heard of you, but can you talk more about VoiceOne and everything you do?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. VoiceOne is a division of the Call Center Corporation. The Call Center Corporation, I'll start there and kind of work my way down. The Call Center Corporation offers multiple different types of call center technology, services, agents, different, pretty much we try to create and be able to offer any type of package available to the call center marketplace. We're kind of a, I guess marketplace is the right word for it. VoiceOne in particular focuses on the messaging groups. The reason why we created a separate division and different brand is because messaging has encompassed so much of business today. There's not just what we talked about today, the outbound messaging. There's the ringless voicemail functionality I referred to. There's also mobile messaging. You know, another method of communicating with your customer base, which allows you to interact with them at a different touch point. What people are finding today is that in traditional calling, with the growth of the cell phone and the fact that I think there's I think the last number I heard was 1.7 cell phones for every person in the U.S. or some ridiculous number like that. People they don't answer phones. Contact rates are decreasing in traditional calling. So people are trying to figure out other ways to communicate with their customers. The ringless voicemail is a great way, and intrusively putting a voicemail on their you know, on their phone to let them get it when they have an opportunity. You know, mobile is clearly something we all hear about in the business journals. And you know, obviously we're going to continue to add other products into the messaging side. But you know, VoiceOne in particular focuses entirely on the messaging services for any type of business.
Okay. that it, Fred, on that one?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, good. Now, I just want to remind everybody, you can still ask questions here. We're getting to the end. So if you remember, down at the bottom of your, let's see, your webinar console, there's a questions. Yours is different from mine. But there's a questions box or module. Just open that up by clicking on the plus sign and type in your questions, and then be sure and hit send, or we won't see the questions. All right, so this one, please elaborate more on customized broadcast messaging. We currently make about 400 calls per day, appointment reminders, it looks like. Can you elaborate on how does that work, I think is what he wants to know.
All right, very good. It's a good question. Under an assumption that you currently have, obviously, the database information regarding that client, the appointment, maybe the person they expect to see, as long as you have that information stored in a database, then that information can then be deployed via either text-to-speech or concatenated speech to a customer to help customize or really give it a feel like it's guided towards them. It's not just some random robocall with the same message for all 100,000 people. It can say their name, first, last name. It can say account numbers. You can really allow the systems to say any piece of data as long as you have it within a stored data structure and can provide it. And then those elements can be built out and customized depending on what you want to accomplish.
Okay. The last one that I've got here is we do monthly campaigns to notify people. I don't quite understand it. I think what they're looking at is, the question is, they only have one campaign per month, and once that's over, they don't do anything else. So can you do that type of, can you work it that way, where you just do, it's not something that you need to use constantly is what I think I'm seeing here. Correct?
Right. Correct. Okay, so definitely, we do have customers that come to us in one-off scenarios. We have, I guess I didn't really touch on the services. We have two different forms of the voice services that we generally offer. There's a full service where we can customize, build, work with you as a consulting team to help you create your campaigns, and then there's a self-service. Either one of them can be used as needed, as you choose, and our teams will work with you, to make sure that your campaigns are handled appropriately.
Okay, that is all the questions at this point. We're 45 minutes into the webinar, which is pretty good. By the way, Fred, your talk was advertised to last 30 minutes, and you were right on it. So, one more came in. Hello, is it possible to have two recordings, English and Spanish? Example, if you would like to hear this message in Spanish, press 1.
Yes.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Yes. And not only can you do that, but if you know that the person speaks Spanish, then you can actually, based upon the data sets, and this would be a little customization, but based upon the data sets, you can actually determine and not even have to ask the customer which one they want to listen to.
Okay, and again, thanks, Jeanette. That's a good question. Anything else, Fred?
That's it. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for coming, and we definitely look forward to having more of these webinars in the future, and helping you out any way we can.
Sounds great. Fred, thank you for your time. Everyone else, thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care, and be sure and call sales if you have any further questions. The information is up on the website, or up on the screen. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.